Let's do Standing on a Million next.
Yeah, so I have been sort of companion reading each episode now, which I think it makes this experience a lot better. So I'm not when I watch it, I'm watching it fresh, but then I go back and I read the chapter or two. I think this time I think I did 2.5 chapters of stuff in the story. I make sure that I always stop right at the last scene that I would have seen. So I'm not ahead. I
Uh-huh.
don't know anything that's going to happen. But actually, I think now they're being pretty faithful. And there really wasn't a lot of like skipped over material. There were things in this episode that I really really liked, and continuations of stuff that I've always liked about this show since it started. The first major thing is that we got an episode where the main character was not really present for most of the story, and yet we still were able to get backstory with him and character growth without him doing very much. So
Yeah.
so the squad's kind of been separated. All the girls and the knights have charged off ahead, and then what's the guy's name?
Tatsuya?
There you go. Tatsuya is like stuck in this like uh hole off to the side of a trap area, and he's slowly like using just brute physical force to like cut holes into the wall to climb up and get out. And while that's happening, we get a flashback to him as a kid, basically explaining like where his loner personality came from. And in fact, it wasn't like the usual sob story. Like, yeah, he was excluded a little bit as a kid, but it also like went into his mentality about how to judge and value people in society around him, around yourself, the way he sees the world. Which is interesting that they give it to us now, because he's already in some ways grown past a lot of those thoughts about like the worth of people in a society, and like what one should or shouldn't do to improve yourself, and how he sees
Uh-huh.
himself as sort of set apart from the rest. Like we've already seen him grow past that. So this is not a flashback that is supposed to explain a thing that he believes now. It's more of a contextual flashback that's supposed to better give us an understanding of how he's moved forward since that time, which I think is good, because normally it's the other way around. So good on them for finding a way to slip in that exposition at a dead point for that character who's not really doing very much else. We also got a really cool feat from someone who wasn't the main character. So last week it was the night girl who couldn't lift the sword, and now
Yeah.
this week EU actually made like good use of not only her training, but also something Tatsuya had told them ahead of time, that if you level up, which she did accidentally, and I have a whole bunch of
Yeah,
other
she did it
questions.
accidentally, and then she blamed like the guy, and I was like, "Girl, you didn't even know that was gonna fucking
Right,
happen."
exactly, right. Like, so there was so she gets level up, which pauses the world right before she gets murdered by the golem, and she winds up getting warrior. They kind of like they don't bury the lead on that one. She's just like, 1 second she's hands together like, give me something good. Next second she's got the armor on. That she can fight. And they did have that scene where Kaval before was like, oh, you're the only one of the group who has any talent doing this shit. And then she actually told her like, hey, if you're in a fight with stronger opponents, like here's where you gotta target. So I thought it was really cool how they have that segment where she gets her like arm cut off, and the arm is flying in the air, and then she athletically goes between the golem's legs, wraps around its neck, grabs her own arm from midair, and then uses the sword to kill the golem by stabbing through
That
the
shit was cool as
clavicle
fuck.
into the heart. And this is from a show that it's not well animated, but it
No.
right, because if this was like Demon Slayer, you would have had like the most beautiful and gorgeous swelling music and the sakuga porn. But no, this was very like in a very utilitarian workman-like sort of way. They animated the scene, but it looked good, and it also felt earned. And instead of like having someone show up to save her, she just won the fight on her own. And then Tetsuya jumps off and saves Kaval, who's in the water, not quite dead. And then they have a little callback to something they mentioned in episode 4, that you could absorb. Maybe it's episode 5, that you can absorb magic.
Absorbing the monsters.
Yeah,
Blood,
exactly.
yeah.
So like that was not from nowhere. And then they ended the episode with Tatsuya actually doing the thing that he's good at, which is not fighting, but thinking, and realizing that the squad didn't know a lot about the rules of this world, and this is a great episode for like fleshing out how interestingly like different or complex things might be versus what they originally thought. Because originally thought it's just a game, everything is linear, we're told what to do. Now it's becoming more obvious that like it's very open ended, and so that means that they have to be very careful about what kind of decisions they make, because there is no way for them to know if they're doing the right thing at any given time. They're just kind of going with the flow. So I like that. So really good episode. Story, character development, feats. Just
Yeah, I thought it was really fucked up how the classes that they have in that world determines their like real world capabilities now.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a little fucked up revelation, which I kind of figured because Tati. Well, I don't know. I thought that he was just like working out in general.
Well, he was. I think he started doing it more after they got back the first time, because he realized that
Yeah.
like what it's you're not gonna become like Super Saiyan, just because you get the right class. Like your physical ability is your physical ability. Oh, that was
Yeah.
cool. Good episode. I'm not upset that this is on my weekly watch list, because it's something that is consistent. Every episode is consistently interesting. Also, I like that part where like Cavell does like the sneak a kiss thing, and the other girls are like, "Hey, we don't want anything to do with that nigga. Like, it's all yours. No harem here. Like, we don't give a fuck about that."